Skills are one of the most important things when it comes to race performance, compensating for stats, career points, and building outstanding Umas. And understanding skills and their type will not only help you measure the skill value, but enable you to plan ahead and build an Uma that is great for PvP. So today, I'm going to break down skills by explaining everything you need to know about their types, conditions, and activations, but also categorize them based on the style they belong to. But not only that, I'm also going to provide you with clear sheets of which skills fall under which style and what support cards they are from. You'll be able to take this with you after the video, and if you'd like, you can also join our Discord server for the HD versions, where you'll also find our Uma build sheets that are constantly being updating. And if you're new here and want more Umamusume guides, hit that subscribe button. So, it's time that we understand each type. So, let's start with green and purple skills. Green skills will grant you a small buff to your stats if you meet their conditions, and purple ones are the opposite, giving a small penalty. These are typically the lowest priority skills to purchase when you are doing your career, and are more like fullers for any points you have to spare at the end of your career. But they can have some value based on the stats they give. At the first level, this is plus 40, and at the second, it's plus 60. And for the purple ones, that's minus 40. But since we're going from 40 to 60, and not 40 to 80, it's actually smarter not to level them twice if you level them at all. Now, the icons you can see on the skill preview actually reflect what stat it increases. From left to right in the pictures above, it's speed, stamina, power, guts, wit, and speed, stamina, and power. And something to note about green skills is that they can increase your stats above the cap, but they do not directly increase the base stat cap. As you know, the stat limit currently for the global version for all stats is 1200, and green skills do not raise the 1200 stat cap, but they do provide conditional in-race buffs that stack on top of your base stats. So you won't see them active on your stat page, but when you're in a race fulfilling the conditions for them to activate, they'll be there. And although these activations are guaranteed and not based on your wit, you will still need to fulfill specific conditions for them to work that we will touch on later. Blue skills, the recovery skills. Now, recovery skills are quite self-explanatory. They restore your Uma's stamina during a race, or we could also call it HP. Standard recovery skills store 1.5%, and gold recovery skills restore 5.5%. So gold recovery skills are far better than the white ones, but also depending on their activation window. For example, the best recovery skills are the ones that restore stamina/HP at a consistent time. Gourmand and Swinging Maestro are good examples, as Gourmand will trigger mid-race and Swinging Maestro at any time during corners. Straight recovery skills, however, aren't ideal, and that's because they could trigger at the start or end of the race, where they'll have much less impact overall. Red skills, which are the debuff skills. Now, these ones can be a bit confusing, and there's a little bit of misinformation out there, but let's clarify that now. These skills affect the other Umas in the race, so your adversaries. They won't affect your Uma or your teammates, so you don't have to worry about sabotaging your own teammates if you are picking them, because they won't. Similar to the green skills, the best debuffs will be the ones that constantly have an effect on your opponents, and different debuffs do different things. From left to right over here, it's speed down, acceleration down, calm down extension from rush, stamina/HP down, and vision down. Orange skills. Now, on these icons, the first two are for speed and acceleration, and as many skills, the best are the ones that with good activation times and long durations. And something important to note about these two skill types in particular is that speed skills won't do anything if you're not at top speed, and acceleration skills won't do anything if you are at top speed. Now, the third type of skill you can see here is a lane changing skill. And what this does, it increases the speed at which your Uma changes lanes. The fourth one decreases the effect of slow starts, and the fifth one affects your vision, which I don't think actually does anything unless you've had your vision debuffed. We also need to go over unique skills being the Uma's ultimate, but we'll get into that in a minute. I know that was a lot of information to take in already, but stay with me here. You're doing such a good job staying focused, and you're already halfway. And you can trust me as usual, it's worth it. Now it's time for you to understand how to spot a good skill, how activations work, and what the heck are these symbols? Well, they actually do more than you think. Let's start with the basics, skill activation. Now, as a baseline, all skill activations are based off your Uma meeting the condition or conditions for that skill to activate. And if the conditions are met, one of two things will happen. Either the skill will just simply activate because it's guaranteed if the conditions are met, or it will go through a wit check. And that's where your Uma's wit amount will determine the percentage chance of activation as long as you've met the required conditions. conditions. So remember, skill activation is not always just based on your wit. Your Uma first needs to fulfill conditions to give it the chance to activate based on your wit. And this is actually when the circles come in. Now your skill activation chances are based off your wit scaling, but also affected by both single and double circle skills. With the double circle on a skill, that means you will have the highest bonus and chance of activation. Now if we look at all unique skills being ultimates and green skills, their activations are always guaranteed if the Uma meets the required conditions. For example, Rice Shower unique skill is guaranteed to activate if you're first, second or third in the final corner. However, when it comes to conditions such as final corner or beyond, as mentioned here, it means that this can activate on the final straight if there's one after the final corner. But if there are no corners in the race, this will never activate. So if Rice Shower is racing on the Naijata racetrack, which has 0 corners, she will never activate her unique skill. Now about these symbols with skills, they all have meaning as we've just seen, but what are they really about? When you see an X symbol on a skill, these are negative skills. And to put it simple, negative skills are the skills that reduce the performance of your Uma. But how do these end up with your Uma? Well, when you lose a race, there's a chance you will receive one of them and will be acquired and determined randomly according to the racetrack. This can depend on the racetrack, the distance, the season of the race you participate in. Now these negative skills can be removed in exchange for SP points, being skill points during your career, and are not expensive to remove or fix, so if you do get one, it won't throw you off your career too much. No X or no circle skill means this is a standard skill. Some are better than others, but this will depend on many factors such as their conditions of activation, and standard skills cannot evolve into amplified versions of themselves unlike single circle skills. And for single circle skills, these are skills with a single circle on the skill to indicate that they can be purchased a second time to unlock an upgraded version, being the double circuit skill. Now this will improve the skill's effect, but also reliability. And just as mentioned for the double circuit skills, they're simply better versions of the single circuit skills and also share the accumulated hint discount from the initial single circle version. Now gold skills are amplified version of skills that don't need to follow the double circle skill rule of upgrading. They appear as separate purchases, but count as one skill upon completing the career. I also made this for you to clearly show you, depending on what circle or version they are at, how the multipliers and increases change. Naturally, you're more than welcome to screenshot this, and this will also go on our Discord server. Well done again, you're killing it today. Now since you understand how skill works, it's time I give you these skill sheets for the global version that will tell you which support card you can get which style based skill for your Uma without having to dig for them each time in the game. These were put together very carefully and accurately by extracting in-game data, but also browser data, and still verifying this data for hours to make sure it was right. So mind at ease. I'll also be posting them on our Discord as well, with many more to come. Now something important to note about skills as well is that each skill you pick contributes to your final career evaluation score, which will determine your rank. So remember, skills are factored within your rank results. Stats, however, are still the biggest contributor, with 1200 stat in any category granting you 3841 points. But skills are not to be ignored either. Unique skills passed down from 3-star legacy Umas are particularly good for your final score, and I've been working on trying to extract the exact conversion of each skill in the global version to your evaluation score, but this data is not easy to access, so please bear with me, and I will release it in another video or on our Discord server. Anyway, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, and I'll do my part and bring you more Umamusume guides filled with tips and tricks to help you succeed. This was Static. Remember to have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.